This is chapter 4. The day I found out that Tommy was a made guy, a gangster. I remember it was in New York City. Actually, it was on Long Island. And I was coming from Florida. I was going to a Christmas party with, well, let's say a friend of mine, but he was actually my sister's boyfriend, Richie. Guy was a gangster as well. That's another story. Actually, that's a book, a complete book on that guy and my sister. But we're going to discuss when I met Tommy as a gangster. So here we are. It was a Christmas party. We flew from Florida. We went to New York. We got ready. We went to this Christmas party. And, there was all the guys from Brooklyn, Manhattan, from all over. Maybe 60, 70 people in this big room that they rented out. Walking in, I recognized them immediately. I seen his back. And this was maybe, I don't know, 10 years after. I went over to him. I tapped him on the back. He turned around. And then right away, it was like we never were apart. He was happy to see me. I was really shocked. At that moment, I didn't know he was a gangster. I just, he was there. And, but he had underneath his eyes, the black that gets around the eyes. I don't know what you call that, but. And I went, "Hey, Tommy, what's wrong with your eyes?" And right behind him, there was other guys that I knew from the neighborhood that we grew up together. And this guy behind him, he's waving at me. He's trying to get my attention. And I spotted him without taking my eyes off of Tommy. And I realized the guy was trying to tell me something. And I'm really, really quick. And the way Tommy reacted very aggressively with me, I realized there was something I didn't know. So I kind of backed off and I said, nothing, Tommy, nothing at all. How you been, buddy? This and that. We hug each other. Meanwhile, I'm looking at the guy behind him. So now I said, Tommy, let me say hello. I think the guy's name was Gene or Eugene or something. I went over to him. Hey, what's up, man? And he says to me, you didn't know? I said, when he said that, being that we were where we were, I put it together immediately. It's, nah, don't tell me. Because, yeah, man, they made him. I said, are you fucking kidding me? Now, a made guy is not allowed to introduce himself to anybody as a made guy. It's one of those things. So now I went over to him again. Tommy, it's been a long time. Where you been? This and that, So now he asked me, he says, who you with? I said, my brother-in-law over here, Richie. He wasn't really married to my sister. I just said my brother-in-law. Like I said, there's a book on this guy. So now Richie's with this other guy, Charlie. The guy was a captain. And I went over to Richie. I said, Richie, that's my friend Tommy. So he looked at me and goes, Tommy's your friend? Yeah, we grew up together. We come from the same school. We were in Japan. Yeah, I gave him the background really quick. Of course, I says, let me introduce you to him. I says, huh? Imagine he was going to introduce me to Tommy. We grew up together. But that's how you do it. So Charlie calls him over and says, well, Tommy's a May guy, this and that, the whole rigmarole. And I congratulated him. Hey, congratulations, all that. I was really like devastated. Now he walked away. He went to have a drink or whatever. And I said to Richie, I said, wow, man, they made him? I says, he ain't gonna last. He's gonna last maybe 6, 7 months. I know this kid. I grew up with this kid. Whoever made him was responsible. I mean, my mind was blown. That night was a terrible night for me. Now, we left that Christmas party and we wind up going to Brooklyn. Went to the private club there on Beth Avenue. And he was there too because everybody went from one place to another place and that was the place. And he's sitting there with his captain, Frankie Lino. And so he went up giving him up anyway, the captain. And he's sitting there with his captain, and I went by, and he's looking at me. He's got this fucking stupid smile on his face. And I'll explain to you why, because I put him in a hospital a few times. As a matter of fact, in one of the tournaments, he turned around, because his family was there to watch him and all that. So he wound up sparring with me. So he says to me, he says, my family's out there, could you please, make me look good? I said, Tommy, don't worry about it. We'll fake it. We'll just play around and we'll take it easy. Little prick. When we got on the mat, the whole family was there. His father, his mother, his sister, some other people. Me on my side, nobody ever came to any of my exhibition or tournaments. So we batted at each other, and he pulled this fucking shit-ass move on me. He tried to really hurt me. And I made him go by. And I looked at him, Tommy, I thought we were going to take it easy. I'm sorry, my friend. Yeah, that's not a nice thing to do, dude. Well, I didn't really say dude because that word didn't exist then. But whatever it is that I said. So we batted again. He came at me, and I fucking hit him twice with my right hand, and I caught him on the lips. And I was holding his, he came into me with his right hand, I grabbed his wrist, I pulled him towards me, and I gave him an over fist. And I caught him right on his lip, but I hit him twice, really fast. He fainted right there. But that wasn't the first time. It happened many times throughout the years, especially in Japan. So he knew he couldn't fuck with me. He knew it. And sometimes, even buddies, they argue, and the weaker guy always knows when he's got to back off. But not this time. When we first met, he was spreading out his wings. He wanted to show me he had power over me. But see, he was wrong. Because I wasn't a gangster. And I didn't really give a fuck. And the reason why I was there is because I was there with my sister's boyfriend. And like I said, that's a book in itself. Mistakes of life. So, this went on that night. He invited me. He said, I said, no, Tommy, I'm not interested. I got to go back to Florida. Well, maybe we'll run into each other again. I says, I don't think so, Tommy. I run a different circle. Well, you're with the guy, Richie. I says, that's my sister's boyfriend. And I'm not with nobody, Tommy. I am me. I'm not with nobody, and you know that. Well, I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, me too. I didn't give him the respect that he thought I was going to give him. As a matter of fact, we never saw each other again. Until I find out that he got busted, he wound up going to jail. And he reached out to me from the prison. He sent me a letter. I had a business in Florida. And I was like surprised. I don't, I guess one of his buddies or maybe my sister's boyfriend through the grapevine, he got an address where I had my business and he sent me a letter from prison. And I responded to him, he come here, his dear friend, all of the above. But you see, he got busted because, first of all, he was playing a game. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He got into that game by accident because from what I understand after, talking to a lot of people, he was a coffee boy in one of the private clubs on Beth Avenue. The coffee boy, that's the kid serving coffee to all these wise ass. And they needed a fucking idiot to do a job. And they picked on him. Because he was a little bit of a fucking retard. Even though I loved him. He was very gullible. And he wanted to be a gangster in a worse way. I mean, he had this vision of, being a gangster. It was a novel thing to do, and I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. And they had to put some guy down, another wise guy. And usually how that works is you need one wise guy to put down. No, you need a guy to put. A wise guy can't hit a wise guy. So they needed somebody that was going to do the job, but it's a very complicated thing. You can't really put your hands on a wise guy because automatically you're signing your death warrant. And on one hand. On the other hand, if they got to put somebody down, after they get everybody to agree, it's got to be done by a guy that's not a wise guy. Because like they said, one wise guy can't put down another wise guy. That's a law that they have, but I don't really think they've really practiced it 100%. So they picked on him. They said, okay, well, take Tommy do what he's got to do, and then if he doesn't get killed in the process, we'll do an emergency, we'll make him a wise guy. And that's the only way he can't get killed because now they're going to make him a wise guy. Basically, he's making his bones. Okay. If this explanation you don't understand, you're better off. But I'm trying to give you more or less how it works. So now, when he goes out and he does the job, he got lucky. I don't know who he did, but I really don't care. He got lucky. He did what he had to do. I don't know if he shit in his pants, but from what I understand, talking to a lot of guys and growing up in the street, it's not an easy thing to do. When you do your first murder, it's not an easy thing to do. It's very difficult. Everything after that becomes a normal thing, but the first time around, it's a very difficult thing to do. So anyway, he got lucky. They made him. He became a soldier now. Now he could get his own guys. He could put his guys together. But he was running a circle with retards. So he started picking all kinds of fucking retards to be under him. And that's what gave him up. Now, he was killing people. He thought he was some kind of movie star, He's fucking just killing people because maybe they looked at him wrong. Then he got into drugs because that's what fucked him up. The drugs gave him that the courage, the false courage. And that's what that black shit was around his eyes. He was all drugged up. I knew it, but I didn't say nothing to him. Not because I was afraid of him. First of all, I didn't know who he was at the time when I seen him. And if I did, I didn't give a fuck because he's not the first guy I ran into as a wise guy. And I'm still here. So now he got into drugs. The reason why is because he started making money with the drugs because, you know, that's what you do. As a matter of fact, somebody reached out to me that I knew. He wanted to know if I knew him because he had a deal going, and I found out he was doing drugs. And I said, listen, I heard about him. He's a mate guy. Don't fuck with the guy. The guy's a lunatic. I think he lasted maybe a year or two, not that much. Oh, he was around before that, but I don't think he lasted that long. So now he got himself a girlfriend, a douchebag that was into drugs. So drugs went into drugs. His life became a shamble. He killing people over fucking stupid shit. Sending people, cutting people up, putting them into suitcases, throwing, getting rid of them in shallow water. Real fucking stupid shit. This guy thought he was like he invented something new. And every time you kill somebody, there's somebody there watching you killing somebody. Now, what these people don't understand, that becomes a get out of jail free card. Because now, if I know what you did and what you did with the body, and something happens to me later on in the future, it could be 100 years from now, I could always get away with it by saying, look, I know that this guy did this, and this is where you could find the body if we cut a deal. And he had 100 guys. Okay, 100 guys might be too many, but he had plenty of people around him that knew his business because he used to kill people and send people to get rid of the body. Imagine, a real fucking idiot. Now, he killed a girl that I know. I knew this girl. Her name was Phyllis. We used to call her Phyllis Birdie. Now, this Phyllis Birdie goes back a long time. She goes back when Tommy was shitting in his pants. I'm not going to say they were changing his diapers, but he was a good boy and he was home at night. He didn't run around. That's when I used to work in discotheque as a bouncer, the doorman. That's what I did when I was young. I used to fucking fight every fucking weekends, not because I wanted to, because that was the job. And I remember Phyllis. She was a tough fucking girl. She used to beat up guys. I mean, there was a days when we used to wear Garrison belt. A Garrison belt was a big belt with a big fucking buckle. And when you got into it, you took that thing off of you, wrapped it around your wrist, and swing it around, and whatever got in its way, God forbid, you got hit with that belt. And I seen her one day, I was working the door of a place called The Sanctuary in Manhattan on 9th Avenue. And the cab pulls up in front of the place, and she comes out of the cab. It was her and this other girl, Dawn, beating the shit out of the cab driver with the fucking Garrison belt. I mean, this girl was a fucking nut job. I remember she used to have a scar underneath her fucking eye because she got hit with a fucking belt once herself. Anyway, he killed her. He cut her head. He kept her head. He put her in a in a freezer. And the reason why he killed her is because he blamed her for his girlfriend's death, because they were doing drugs together. Anyway, he gets busted. He gets busted because they give him up. Because somebody needed to get out of jail, so he gets busted. But one thing I gotta say about him, he stood up. He took the heat. He took the heat. He could have gave up a lot of people. He could have gave up a lot of people, but he didn't. He took the heat. As a matter of fact, his guy, Frankie Lino, gave him up. I really don't give a fuck. I don't even think the guy's alive anymore. And if he is, he's 120 years old. Because I'm 71. I'm talking about, I was in my 50s when all this bullshit happened. So going back about 20 years, maybe more. So anyway, he reached out to me from prison. I wrote back to him. He put me on his visiting list, because you have to do it that way. He wanted me to go visit him. I was going to go. But then I changed my mind. I said, what am I doing? What am I going to do? I go visit and do what? So I stopped answering his mail. One day I get a call from a guy in Brooklyn, on one of the clubs in Brooklyn. And can you remember his fucking name? He wanted to know if I could get a job for Tommy's father. And I said, look, it's not that I can't help anybody. I got my own fucking problems. As a matter of fact, at that time I had my son giving me nothing but fucking problems. And what was I gonna do? I would have had to adopt a guy. The guy was already an older guy. What was he gonna do in Florida? So I very politely said, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't do anything. But this guy now is doing life. I mean, he's been away now, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 years, maybe 25. But he's never going to come out again. Never. The people that gave him up, they committed crimes too, and murder, but they're out walking. Why? Because they gave him up. Why? Not because he was such a tough guy, because he was the main guy. He had a reputation. Tommy Karate, samurai swords, kind of bullshit that made the feds look good. But in reality, you know what? They kicked the shit out of a fucking guy that was a fucking retard. I love the guy, still love the guy. I wish this didn't happen to him. But I kind of got to blame myself a little bit. And you say, why are you blaming yourself? Well, it's not that I'm blaming myself. See, Tommy would have never fell into that fucking trap if I wouldn't have left him in Japan. Because when I left him in Japan, Tommy was like a little kitty cat. But then, being that I wasn't there, they didn't want to deal with him because he was nothing to deal with. So they kind of, pushed him out of the gym, the dojo. So he didn't want to come back to the United States, and he ended up going to Tokyo. And he wanted to join the school with Yamamoto. But Yamamoto wasn't interested. Yamamoto had other things on his mind. Because Yamamoto wasn't just a karate man. Yamamoto was a gangster in his own right. See, that's what people didn't know. So he went to Yamamoto, and Yamamoto said, look, I could get you a little room for you to sleep in, and I give you a job. And Tommy went for it. And then Tommy started seeing that these guys, they were gangsters. So he started learning how to be a gangster from these guys. And when he came home, he started, talking about the Japanese Yakuza, because they had connections. I know because I know. So they meaning the people in Brooklyn, they kind of let him hang around. He was nothing special. Like I say, he was a coffee boy. That's what he was. He was a coffee boy. He never did anything. Never did a fucking thing. Coffee boy. You go from coffee boy to hitman to made man, and all of a sudden you got a fucking reputation of killing people and cutting them up. Retard. And that's what they do. They fucking eat you up if you let them. They tried doing that shit with me, but it didn't work. I tell them to go fuck themselves all the time. All the time. And I will talk about that, especially with this guy that was with my sister, Richie. That guy was a grand piece of shit. But I played up to the guy only for one reason, because my sister had bad taste in men. And the only way I could keep an eye on her and her stupidity is to hang out with these fucking animals. Because I left New York City because of these people. Not because I was afraid of them, because I didn't want anything to do with them. And I took my family out to Long Island. Well, let me say that again. I didn't really take my family there. My family was in Long Island. I was in New York City. I left New York City and I went to my family on Long Island. And then after a while, we decided to come to Florida. The Florida part, yes, I did. I dragged my family out of fucking Long Island and brought them to Boca Raton, Florida. And that's a fact. I don't give a fuck who comes up and says otherwise. That's a fact. My kid brothers, they were young, no father. They had 2 older brothers, an older sister. They got plenty of beatings. And I'm sorry to say I was one of them beating them up all the time. But I did it for their good. And today, they're the best of the best. And their kids are the best of the best. Okay, so I'm not saying I did that. I'm only saying I gave them a lot of fucking beatings. Now, if that made them the best of the best, then I did it. Anyway, this is not about beating up people. This is about trying to give people the right direction. And sometimes you have to be a little tough. Now, again, Tommy would have been still on the street if I wouldn't have left him in Japan. But you can't save the world. You cannot. Anyway, this is about Tommy, and I will have more stories, even about Tommy. There's plenty of stories. It just can't put them all together in one little video. I wish I could, but I can't. Anyway, subscribe to this channel. Like this video. It's the only way I'm just going to talk more and bring you the best I can. So, thank you very much. And see you on my next chapter.